Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's underscore webinar. Very excited to have you all here today. We're going to be talking about really practical use cases for AI in education. And so my name is Shannon Howard. I'm the Director of Customer and Content Marketing at Intellum, a leading enterprise learning management system. I'll be your host for today's webinar. I'm calling in from beautiful Black Mountain, North Carolina. And just before we get started, I want to introduce you to the platform and how to use it. With the platform that you're on, if you want to tell us where you're calling in from, if you want to communicate with us, chat to us, or if you have questions as we're going, underneath the video that you're looking at, you will see a questions box. So it'll say questions, you can type in there, we'll see that. The second thing is this webinar is being recorded. So if you have to jump off, if you want to come back, we are going to have a ton of great practical use cases. You're probably going to want to come back to it. So this is being recorded. It will be on the page that you're on right now. It'll also be sent to your inbox, just so you have that. I'll also give you the heads up that, again, underneath this video, you can rate and give us some feedback on this webinar. So we read all of those comments. We want to hear from you. What did you like? What things do you want to hear about in the future? So we read all of those and we use those to inform our content and webinar calendar. Without much further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce you to my friend Neil, who's one of the co-founders of Cluso, which is an AI platform that helps to create help videos and help articles, education content. And so we're actually customers of Cluso. So this is a really unique and great opportunity. It's just like, I'm impressed with the product, but also Neil is just, I know when I was trying to figure out like, how does AI work and how do you use AI? Neil really helped me to understand how to think about AI and how to use it as kind of an extension of your team, or kind of treating AI like an employee. So I think he's got a really great way of talking about AI that makes sense and is also really like immediately after this webinar, you can go do some of these things. So without too much more, I'm going to pass it over to Neil. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Shannon. Really appreciate the great introduction. And yeah, thank you so much, everyone. It's really nice to have you all here and take out your time for this. I'm really excited to be talking to you all. Without further ado, I'll also, just start sharing my screen, and then, we can get into the presentation, wherein I'll share a bit about myself and, the things that we're going to talk about today. Awesome. So, just to give you all a quick intro, I am Neil. I'm one of the co-founders at Cluso. And at Cluso, essentially, we are building an AI platform to help education teams create really engaging videos and step-by-step documentation very, very quickly. We had faced this problem ourselves firsthand, me and my co-founders at a previous startup. And that's what we're trying to solve for with Cluso. We're building a platform to help anyone create really engaging content very, very quickly with AI. And if you've spent any time on social media recently, you will just know that the amount of updates that are coming out every single day. Every single day, there's a new model that's getting released. There's a new, tool. There are tons of new AI tools that are getting released as well, and it's just super, super challenging to keep up. But of course, we at Cluso are an AI company, so we actually experiment with all of these new models every single day, and we are experimenting with like multiple, multimodal models and trying to see, how we can incorporate those within our product to make the lives of our customers, easier and easier every single day. And that's why, we keep spending a lot of time working with these models, and we've built a lot of unique perspectives based on the time we've spent. And another thing that we do a lot of is actually, talking to our customers. So over the last year in 2024 alone, I spent nearly 1,000 hours talking to education teams at various different organizations and enterprises. And because of those conversations, we've built a very unique perspective on, the challenges that the processes that the education teams follow, the challenges that they face while building their educational programs, courses, and training content, and how the latest advancements in AI can actually supercharge their processes and help them improve their workflows and make them 10 times faster. And because of the amount of time we've spent working with the AI models, AI tools, AI workflows, and talking to all of our customers, we've built very unique perspectives on all of these things. So now let's get started. Of course, all of you probably would have already used ChatGPT and you're probably using it, every single day. So that's something that, everyone I've spoken to are also, doing already, which is great. It's a great start. But now let's get into a little more advanced thing. How many of you here have actually tried building a custom GPT? It'd probably be, handful as compared to, how many of you have actually used ChatGPT. And if we get into like a computer use agent, it'll be even fewer people, like maybe just a couple, right? So it's with the amount of speed at which AI is growing, is just really difficult to keep up. And with based on all the conversations that I've been having with a lot of education teams, what we've seen is that a lot of teams are only using AI for a small fraction of the things that they can actually be using it for. Like, it's just that they've not even been using it for, a lot of things that they could be using it for, and everyone's just using it for a small fraction of things. That's possibly because of two things. You either think that, it's still not good enough, or it's just really difficult to keep up with the new updates that are coming out and, actually figure out what to try out and what not to try out. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. So, what I'd love to actually share is some practical applications of AI that you can start, implementing AI for right away, for multiple different workflows that you might have for your, within your education programs. So now let's get started. One of the most basic things that most of the teams are already using AI for is rephrasing or rewriting some sort of content. Be it, for example, writing video scripts, step-by-step instructions, help articles, or maybe any kind of course content as well. And if you're doing this already, and if you're using ChatGPT for this, your workflow might look something like this today. You give a draft of what you already have to ChatGPT and ask it to refine it, and it does like a it does the refining and then gives you a good first draft for you to work with. But of course it's still not perfect, and you still have like a few more things that you want it to do. Then you give it some specific instructions on what you want it to do, and it'll follow those instructions and give you an updated draft. And again, you give more instructions, and you keep doing this until you get the perfect output you need. And of course, don't get me wrong here. It's like with this, you can already, save a lot of time as compared to, doing it all manually. So this is already super, super helpful. But think about it this way. Let's say the next time you have to use, something for the exact same use case, if you go to ChatGPT and then, give that draft and ask it to rewrite, you'll not remember all of the, instructions that you've given it earlier. And you'll have to again, go through that iterative process of, giving it specific instructions, asking it to do specific things, and the back and forth that typically happens. And if multiple team members or your team are actually doing it, then it becomes even more challenging. Everyone has their own set of prompts, and all of the content that everyone's generating might not be super consistent as well. And that's where custom GPTs come in. So think of custom GPTs as chat GPT that's trained specifically for your particular use case. So think of it like a chat GPT, that remembers every single instruction that you've given it before and follows all of those instructions when you just give a quick input without any prompt as well. And and also regardless of who's actually using it, to ensure that the outputs are consistent. And that's what custom GPTs do. These are like, think of them as ChatGPT trained specifically for your particular use case with your specific instructions as well. And actually creating custom GPTs is super, super easy. Let me show you how. And here I'm going to play a couple of quick videos. So to create a custom GPT, you just go to your ChatGPT Pro account, click on Explore GPTs, My GPT, and then it would open up like a new custom GPT panel here for you to create a custom GPT. Now, to train the custom GPT, you need a couple of things. You firstly need to give it the context of what it's supposed to do. And the second thing is, what are the instructions that it needs to follow, or what is the content that it needs to go through to perform the tasks that it needs to perform. So for this example, what we will do is we'll actually build a custom GPT that transforms like a raw video transcript or like any kind of transcript into nice step-by-step instructions. And of course, there's a ton of places where this could be useful. You have a lot of internal training calls or internal calls that you do. And if you actually want to create like step-by-step instructions out of that, right now it's super, super tricky, and it's almost impossible to do it really quickly. and we'll try to build a custom GPT for that. So here, what we'll do is, we'll ask it to actually convert raw video scripts into nice instructional step-by-step article. So that's the context that we'll give it. And we also need to give specific instructions that it needs to perform while generating the output. And one thing to note with, not just custom GPTs, but with any AI tool, any model, any LLM that you might be using as well, is the more specific you are with your instructions, the better it is. Think of AI as an intern. Just give them the tasks, and instructions as specific as you can be, so that it follows those specific instructions, and there's less weakness or less confusion as well, and it's able to perform those in the exact way you want them to perform. So do spend some time actually writing out the instructions, or the context that you need to actually build any kind of custom GPT, or any kind of prompt as well. So here, now let's train an actual custom GPT. So here, firstly, when you go to custom GPT, it asks you to give up context. So we've given the context, and post that, it'll ask you to, give more instructions that it needs to follow to perform the task. So here we've also inputted the instructions that we see here. So I've already sent these instructions right here. So first we give the context, and then we give the instructions, and it'll also ask you to, give your custom GPT a nice name, and like upload a deep profile picture and all of that. All of that we're skipping because it's just super straightforward and super easy. And that's it. With just 2-3 steps like this in just a few minutes, now we have already trained a custom GPT for this specific use case that we discussed. Now let's see how it performs. So if we go to the next tab here, here we'll try to test the custom GPT. So what you see on the right side panel is the space where you can actually test the custom GPT. So what I've done here is I've actually inputted a raw transcript from one of the videos I recorded for HubSpot, and then asked it to transform that into nice step-by-step instructions. And as you can see here, it has done a great job. It has created a nice step-by-step instructions out of the raw transcript that I gave it. So just like that, we've been able to convert a raw transcript into nice step-by-step instructions. But of course, now based on this output, I have a couple of more instructions that I want to give it, so that it performs even better and the output is exactly how I need it. So you can always refine your custom GPT. So you go back on the left side, give any specific additional instructions that you want to give it. For example, in this case, I'm saying, if there's an example scenario that's mentioned in the original script, clearly mention that in the article as well. Similarly, if there's any other additional instructions that you ever want to give to your custom GPTs, you can always open it and then reconfigure it and then keep adding additional instructions as well. Now you've given these instructions, and you can test it again. And once you're happy, you can just share this with your team. So sharing it with your team is super easy. You just click on the create button at the top right corner, click on anyone with the link, and you just get the link for the custom GPT that you can share with anyone on the team. And post that, all they will have to do is just open the link on their device and just enter a video script of any kind, and it'll automatically generate step-by-step instructions. So now the next time you need to convert a video script into step-by-step instructions, you don't need to worry about writing your prompt, giving the instructions again, or your team doesn't need to worry about anything at all. They just open the custom GPT link that you have shared with them, and then they just give it the input and then get the output in the exact format you need. So that's how easily you can build custom GPTs for multiple different use cases. We've looked at a very basic use case here. And a couple of things to actually keep in mind to actually improve the custom GPTs that you're creating, or improve the instructions that you're giving it as well. So one best practice is actually just asking ChatGPT or using ChatGPT itself to generate the instructions for the custom GPT. For example, you can just give it the context of what you want to be able to do, and with some basic instructions, and ask it to generate a prompt that you can give to a custom GPT, and you'll do a great job here. So for example, here we've given it some basic instructions, and now it has come up with a great prompt that I can use for a custom GPT. Of course, you can edit it as required, but you can always use ChatGPT to just keep refining your prompt and then keep making it even better for AI to understand it really clearly. So that's the number one best practice. Number two, another thing that you can also do is when you're actually using the custom GPT, whenever you like the output, just actually tell it that this output is great, and keep up the good work, or something like that. Just like give it just like, let's say if someone does a great job, you'd say, this is awesome, and they would remember that, you really like that, and the next time they would try to follow, and then ensure that they're still performing the same things with the same level of work and depth as well. So same thing with custom GPTs as well. Whenever you like a output it's giving, you can always say that this is great, and then please follow similar instructions later on. So that's about custom GPTs, but we looked at a very basic use case. Now let's look at a little more advanced use case, wherein how do we get custom GPTs or create a custom GPT to actually come up with like a nice course outline, course structure, and different modules for a course given just a topic name. So in this example, we'll look at building like an instructional design copilot. As you all already know, instructional designers, or all of us spend tons of time just coming up with the first draft of the course or the course outline, and it takes up a lot of time. And now with custom GPT for this, you can make this much faster. So let's try and build a custom GPT for that. So firstly, this is the training context that we'll give it. We'll say you are an expert instructional designer at a software company or any other kind of company. You're responsible for creating self-paced e-learning courses, and you understand XYZ principles. And this is the context I'll give it. Post that, what we'll give is we'll give it a detailed, input format and the output format. So we'll tell the custom GPT that the input that the user is going to give is going to be a topic name for which the course needs to be created, and the learning objectives and who the audience is going to be for the course. And for the output, you can give the exact output format that you need as well. In this example, what I've done is I've asked you to, come up with like a nice course title, a nice overview, break the course down into multiple different modules. For each module, come up with like a nice title, learning objectives, course outline, and even like, what kind of assessment methods should be used as well. And taking this instructions, now we'll try to build like a custom GPT. And once you've built a custom GPT, you just again give the instructions exactly like how we did it earlier. Here, we'll actually test the custom GPT. In this example, what we'll ask this instructional design custom GPT to do is we'll ask it to actually, help us create a course or come up with an outline for a course, which is for, mastering digital marketing with HubSpot, and which is aimed at like, marketing professionals. So we'll give it this prompt. And now, as you can see, in just a few seconds, it comes up with like a brilliant outline for a course with a nice course title, course overview, the different modules that you should have in your course, the content outline for each of the modules, what should the assessment methods be for each of the modules as well, and what should the resources be that you attach at the end of the course. So that way, just like that, from a very static, course input or like, a topic input along with who the audience is, the custom GPT has come up with like a really, really nice and detailed course outline for us. This would otherwise end up taking, multiple days and hours and hours of time if an instructional designer were to do it manually. Now, in no way is this actually replacing an instructional designer or anyone else as well. It's just making the process more than 10 times faster, so that you're actually able to create a lot more content, a lot more courses, and focus on more strategic things than just refining each of these small details. Of course, once it gives you a great first draft, you can always add your own inputs and then make it much better and create the final draft. But as you can see, we've got like a great course output or course outline to start with initially, which is amazing, and has saved us like hours and hours of time. So that's about custom GPTs. And of course, you could be using custom GPTs for multiple different use cases. A lot of other great use cases of custom GPTs include, creating assessments and knowledge check questions. As you all know, at the end of every course or, every training content or piece you have, you would want to add assessment or knowledge check questions so that you know that the users have actually understood the concept or the topic or not. So you can actually use custom GPTs to create, assessments or knowledge checks as well. For example, one of the, custom GPTs that you built could be something, that takes in like a course transcript as an input, and then from that it automatically creates different knowledge check questions in the specific format. So you could have one custom GPT that takes in course transcript as the input and then gives you an output of multiple different knowledge check questions in multiple choice format with like 4 options as well. That could be one of the custom GPTs. So you can essentially build custom GPTs that helps you create all of these assessments and knowledge checks very quickly. And ideally, all of these things will actually get implemented in in the LMS platform that you're using itself, and they'll start adding these features as well. And you could be using it for like, multiple different use cases, just like, what I pointed out here. So that's what custom GPTs can help you with. Now, coming to reasoning models. If you all are using ChatGPT today or any other models, most of them are just, basic LLMs, like GPT-4 or 4.0 and all are, large language models. And recently, over the last few months, OpenAI, Anthropic, and other companies have also started launching reasoning models. The difference between the reasoning models and the normal models is that reasoning models can actually reason and think through and actually build like a chain of prompt before responding or giving the answer. So think of it like, if I ask you a question, you would think something, and then based on that you would think the next thing, and then you have a series of thinking or series of thoughts as well. And that's exactly what reasoning models do. Until now, the normal models are like interns, wherein you ask it to do something specific with exact specific instructions and it'll perform that for you. But reasoning models are much more than that. Think of them like, they have PhDs basically. And especially reasoning models are great to use for any kind of complex mathematical problems, data analysis, any kind of research as well. So let's look at one such use cases for education teams. All of us here know that actually measuring metrics for for the education program is super challenging. And that's not always because of the lack of the data. In fact, in most cases, you already have data spread over multiple different tools, but actually analyzing that data and coming up with the right metrics or correlation to actually prove the impact is a challenging task. And for that, you would typically need to involve like a data analysis team or data science team or business intelligence team as well, which is super challenging, of course, because they've got their own set of analysis and other things to do. So it's really difficult to, get a hang of them or like their time as well. And that's where deep research or other reasoning models can actually help you prove the impact of your business programs as well. So let's look at one such example. So in this example, what we're going to do is what we've taken is different data sheets from like different tools. For example, this is a list of this is an export that we got from our LMS platform, whatever it could be. And from the LMS platform, we've got like the list of the students or like the people who have taken up courses, how many courses they've taken up, how many courses have they completed, when did they sign up, and everything like the completion rates as well. So we've got a data of how many people are attending courses. The second data set could actually be just an export from your CRM, which is a list of all the companies with their domains and when their subscription is starting, when their subscription is ending, what's the deal value like, if they've churned, when did they churn, what is the churn reason as well, or any kind of NPS and other scores as well. And of course, this is just an example of an LMS and CRM tool, but you could have data sources from multiple different like tools as well. Let's say if you have an NPS score somewhere else, you could do that. If the support is handled on a different platform, you could have the support tickets data elsewhere as well. But the idea is that you've got all of these different data sources. Now we'll ask the AI to actually pick up all of this data and then convert that into a nice consumable thing that we could present to our leadership to actually understand show them the impact of the education program. So in this case, what we'll do is we'll go to deep research, OpenAI deep research. You could be using deep research, ChatGPT, O1, O3, O3 mini, any of the other models as well. And what we'll do here is we'll upload the two, or the three data sets that we have, and we'll say, here are the CSV exports that I got from the XYZ CRM platform and ABC LMS platform. Now, can you please run an analysis among these data sets and come up with some analysis on how trained customers and untrained customers metrics change for like NPS, product adoption, number of support queries raised, and things like that. And one thing that's really important to actually share is what is going to be the common identifier between both of these sheets. So in this case, we'll say the common column in both the sheets is company domain, and that's what you should base the, that would be the unique source of truth for you to combine all of the data and then do the analysis on top of. So this is really important. And once you give that prompt, what he'll do is he'll start analyzing, he'll start thinking, and he'll come up with like a combined data set that combines all of the data that we've given it. So typically, if you were to do this yourself, you would have to write like a complex SQL query, a SQL query, which goes looks at the table 1, table 2, and then tries to combine them both. And for that, you need to write like a complex SQL query that joins two different tables. And of course, as education team members, or we don't have expertise in doing that, and that might be really challenging as well. So that's why AI can do this for you right away in just a minute. And then post you've got the data, you can ask it to analyze that, and then build like charts on top of that as well. And that's what it has done for us here. So as you can see, it has come up with like nice charts for the different impact, or proving the impact of training on the NPS score as well. So with the increasing number of training courses, the NPS score is increasing. Again, all of this is just a dummy data, but essentially this is what you could be getting as an output with your own data and your own analysis as well. And in the end, we could also ask you to compare, between trained and untrained customers. Could you tell, what the churn rates look like? And of course, this is, again, in no way this is the actual data. This is just dummy data. But for example, here it's saying untrained customers, are churning. 50% of untrained customers churn, but only 20% of trained customers churn. Again, you can ask it specific questions or the specific analysis that you wanted to perform, and it'll perform those analysis and create the right charts, or give you the right data as well. But again, the idea is that you just give it the right questions and ask it the right things, and it'll perform all of the complex data analysis for you and give you the outputs without you having to rely on like a data science, data analysis, or a business intelligence team, for example. That's about that. We could just skip computer agents for now. And one more thing I do want to talk about here is actually creating visuals and infographics from just text. As again, education team members, you end up creating like a lot of presentations, a lot of videos, a lot of posters, and all of these have like a lot of visuals in them. So how can you create these visuals, really good visuals, very, very quickly? So you can use AI for that as well. So in this example, we're going to use a tool called napkin.ai. It's again free to sign up. You can just go to napkin.ai and it'll open up like a plain, empty sheet here. And here you just need to paste any text, and then you can convert that into a visual. So for example, here what we've done is we've gone to the Amplitude, Product Academy, and I've gone to their, one of their learning parts, and then taken the, description of their learning part, and it's actually super long for anyone to consume and understand what's happening. So we just copy the description, paste that here as an example on napkin.ai, and then you see this blue button here, you just click on that, and then now what Napkin will try doing is will try generating different visuals based on the text input that's there. As you can see, it has come up with like different visual styles as well. And once you like a particular style, you can pick different particular format within a particular style as well. And just like that, from a huge chunk of text, we got a really nice visual to work with as well. And of course, you can customize this based on your own brand color, add your own brand settings and all of that as well. So just like that, you can convert a huge chunk of text into images or visuals or infographics very easily. And these are the different use cases you could be using it for. And of course, guess what? Guess how this infographic was created. This is of course created with napkin.ai in less than a minute. So that's how easily you can generate nice infographics for your presentations, courses, videos, whenever you want, with just a couple of clicks and steps. So that's about generating visuals, and this is also a place where you can start using AI very actively for your workflows. Yeah, Shannon, do we have more time?
We do, yes.
Okay, great. So another thing I do want to cover is actually now there's something that that a lot of OpenAI, Anthropic, and a lot of other tools have been launching. There's something called browser agents or computer agents or browser use. A lot of different providers or different companies call it different things. But essentially, what they are is something that helps that can simulate a user or an actual human using a computer. So think of it like you just giving a prompt of saying go to XYZ tool, or go to an XYZ site and then do and perform this action for me. So it'll actually go open that site, and then the agent will try to perform those actions and then perform the steps for you as well. So think of it like stimulating an actual human using like a computer and any particular workflow that you ask it to perform. So something like that could actually be really helpful for you to test the usability of how your academy is. Again, this might not be relevant for everyone, but let's say if you have a massive product academy or in a partner education program as well with a ton of courses, then it might get difficult for users to navigate to the academy and actually find what they're looking for. And that's where this can come in. So for this example, what we'll do is we'll go to OpenAI operator, and we're actually asking it to navigate to Salesforce Trailhead learning portal and help us find some sales management or help us find some courses that can help me build sales management skills. Of course, as we all know, Salesforce Trailer is massive, and it's like they've got hundreds and thousands of courses there, and we've just asked it to go to that particular site and then help us find the relevant courses. So what it has done here is it has opened the browser, and now if we increase the size of the browser or make it in full size, this is what it looks like. So it actually opens up the site that we have given it. And as you can see here at the top right corner, it searched for sales management skills first. And then that's what a user would do as well. And now it's searching through filters on the left side. So here on the left side, you can see the filters that it's trying to search through to find the relevant courses. And that's exactly what a human or an end user would have done as well. And if you were to do this, user testing manually in terms of how the usability is, you would have to, have build a focus group of a few users, actually see them use the product or like the, training academy, and then actually figure out what were the confusing UX workflows or, any other workflow on the academy or any screen as well. And that's what you can now simulate with just AI agents like, OpenAI operator or browser used by Anthropic as well. In fact, at the end of it, it also gives you the exact steps that it performed on the left side for you to know what exactly did it end up doing to find the relevant courses. So that way, you know exactly where people are getting confused, where are they spending more time. And one thing to keep in mind for this is that you shouldn't run this just once. You should keep running this again and again. Like, if you are using OpenAI operator to do some sort of usability testing, run it 10 or 15 different times, because this is a memoryless system. So if you're asking it to perform some action now versus if you ask it again to perform the same action, it doesn't have memory of what it did the last time. So it'll again try to navigate through it from scratch. So think of it like actually asking 10 different users on performing the same action. That's exactly what you could simulate with OpenAI operator as well. You could literally give the same prompt 10 different times and it'll perform different workflows or, as if it's a new user every single time. So that way you can get an understanding of, okay, 7 on 10 times it's actually doing this. So maybe this is an easier workflow or easy to understand workflow. But, this particular workflow is only able to perform 2 or 3 out of 10 times, then it's probably confusing. And that's how actually we ended up, identifying a lot of user experience or UX workflows that were confusing on our product. So essentially, one thing that we noticed was a lot of our customers were actually struggling with figuring out, how to translate their videos from one language to another. And this is what the UI looked like earlier. So we have got like a voiceover button where people can pick a voice for their video. And here we had a flag, icon. And then there's a small translate button in the top right corner. So when we ran the analysis with OpenAI operator, asking it to translate a particular video into Spanish, from English to Spanish, in most cases, it ended up clicking on this voice option here because of the flag, and that's actually something that threw it off and then confused it. And that's when we realized, oh, that's actually super confusing. And here's how we actually solved for it. So in the updated UI, what we did is we firstly, added like a clear translate button because it can see this visually and it's actually reading everything that's on the screen. So now it has become very easy for it to find, how to translate the content. So now in this scenario, 8 out of 10 times it is actually able to translate the video as well, which was just 3 out of 10 times earlier. So that way you can also find complex user workflows on your product. And in fact, if you're trying to create like a training course for some particular module on your product, you can try to, gauge what the confusing workflows are in that particular module so that you can ensure that your course, covers that really well with the course that you're creating. So with this, you can also identify any confusing product workflows that will help you build better and more focused courses to improve the engagement and make sure that the customers or the users are actually able to understand what they need to understand. So that's essentially a quick overview. Of course, there's a lot more things, but yeah, that's what I wanted to cover. So essentially, what I wanted to talk about is how you can actually start using AI outside of ChatGPT, or just rewriting or rephrasing content for multiple different use cases. And one thing I'd recommend is using custom GPTs definitely for multiple different use cases, generating assessments, creating course outlines, rephrasing content, creating help articles, video scripts. So that's definitely a great place for you all to start it. And the second thing that you could also start doing is actually using AI to do complex math crunching for you, and then data analysis to prove the impact as well. And of course, now we'll have Helen talk about how she's been using AI and like an AI tool, Cluso, to actually convert or create a ton of training courses much faster. Yeah.
Awesome. Some folks have popped in the chat, like, this is great. I mentioned earlier, you might want to come back. You will get the recording of this webinar. Also, we have some content around AI. So underneath the video, you'll find a bunch of links to, so Neil's put together a blog on uses for AI. Intellum has a lot of blogs on how you can use AI, and a lot of those will have some prompts in there. Some of you were asking about that prompt for measuring impact. That's on the blog too. You'll find that under the video. So lots there, just in terms of like, okay, this was great, and now like I'm going to go back and start typing in the prompt. Like, don't worry, they're documented for you, so you can use those. Yeah, but Helen, are you there to join us and talk a little bit about how we've used AI as part of our education team?
I certainly am. Thank you, Shannon. And I've been watching with fascination, scribbling down notes on different ways I can do this. So I'm just playing catch up here. But yes, thank you for the introduction. Yes, I'm Helen Bailey, based in Cambridge, England, and I've been working for Intellum for about 4.5 years. And I'd love to share just a little bit about our journey with Cluso as we have been exploring our training materials. So I was in the education team when I started, and I've been working in e-learning for upwards of 20 years now. And I basically came in, and we were making a lot of videos for our training materials, for our internal enablement as well, so for our staff and for various marketing reasons. But mainly we were using a host of tools, a suite of different tools. There was no AI back then, weirdly, and even 5 years ago there was sort of very little in the AI world. It seems to have all appeared overnight, it seems. But we used to have to use something to record our screen, perhaps, and then we'd have to import it into another tool. We'd have to do our voiceovers manually by our own recording studios at home, which was difficult, and all kinds of things like transcripts and subtitles. It all had to be done manually. So videos for me could take sort of half a day to a full day, depending on the complexity. And obviously we're working in a lot of software-based training, which takes a lot of recording of screens. It's not kind of recording people or situations. So the kinds of things that you have to record is all things that happen on the screen. And if you click accidentally in the wrong place, you have to start the recording all over again. And anything that changes, you've got a lot of re-editing to do. So it was very slow production, and there was a lot of manual effort involved, such as adding those voiceovers, tweaking the timings on things, adding zoom effects and transitions, captions, all sorts of things like that. It was super time consuming. So we had all these separate tools, we had these separate processes, and then we were also making videos and documentation separately. Different teams were working on them. We were having to do everything from scratch, and there was no real way to combine those two processes into one easy system. Now, of course, AI has, like I said, seems to have come in, swept in overnight, and now we're just embedded in the AI world and blanketed by all of these possibilities. So which was great for us. We were able to find some tools that would speed up the job, but everything was still a little bit disconnected and a little bit all over the place. So we had to kind of think, right, well, we've got these voiceovers, we've got people who are moving in and out of the company. If we've got a video that somebody recorded with their own voice, what's going to happen if they leave, or if they turn up ill and their voice is different that day? It's going to sound very disconnected. So it's fine if you're teaching something static and you're just showing something, but if you're trying to make your videos a little bit more personable, a little bit more connected to the material, and you're wanting to add some nice visual effects, some nice voiceover, and some nice accessibility features, it was taking a long time. So we discovered Cluso while we were looking for some sort of solution to this problem, and I think it was in its sort of relevant infancy back then. It was already established, but we were aware that it was a fairly new tool. But as soon as we had a demo from them, we could already see the potential in savings in time and process. And when we spoke to the team, it was clear that they had big plans. We were already thinking in terms of product growth and listening to what we wanted and saying yes, that's on the roadmap. So it was really promising, and we started to use it, and we were pretty blown away by how quickly they implemented the new promised features, especially things that would be like useful, like shapes and text boxes and customized intros and templates. And it's something we always strive to do within the platform and the authoring tool Evolve as well, which was listen to feedback, listen to ideas from the community of users and implement those to give it make it the best product it can be. So we really gelled with this ethos that the company had. So now we've been making videos with Cluso for some time, and if we record one video of a process in our tool, our platform, it basically takes the amount of time it takes to demonstrate that item to yourself on the video, and all you need to do then is wait for it to import into Cluso, do a few tweaks based on what you need, so checking the zooms, re-recording anything that you might need to. But then the voiceover has been captured, but any ums and ahs, which I do a lot of, I can tell just from this piece here, they're removed, it's automatically transcribed for you, and it's cleaned up, which is great. And then using the AI voices that are included in the platform, it means that if you need to change something that was said, or you realize that you need to change a little bit of the process, you can just edit that script. You don't need to go and re-record the whole thing again and try and remember what you said, and you don't have to do anything like that. So there was no piecing together, just little tweaks, publish it, and then it's done. So those simple edits just allow you to fix things like if your screen hung halfway through a video, you didn't have to start again. You could just trim out that little bit where the screen hangs. And the great thing is if you take away or add words to the voiceover, it doesn't matter, because the sync points in the text allow the video to slow down or speed up to keep up with you. So that's all done for you. It's an absolute joy to use, and we really did find that the benefits to us were massive. So we had around 100 videos in a recent certification course that we made for our platform, for admins of the new platform. And we produced those in just 3 months. Now, it sounds like a long time still, but when you think about the other work we were getting done, it would have been a lot more had we not been able to use Cluso. I think we equated it to a sort of 80% reduction in time spent creating training videos, which was obviously a massive saving and a no-brainer for sort of time, money, energy, and frustration when making our content. So the impact has been massive in terms of that, but it also means that we can create a video and a knowledge article in exactly the same breath. So we create our internal enablement, we create our knowledge bases and our videos, quick how-to guides for marketing, demos, all kinds of things, and everything is consistent. We can use the same voice across all videos, and then we can make sure that there's no variation in this the voice quality that we have. So it has been brilliant. We saved so much time, and we're continuing to use Cluso for our next certification, and like I said, for our knowledge base articles and anything else where we need to do a screen recording. Software changes so often. If you're using software or training it yourself, you'll know that just one little menu change and suddenly all of your videos are out of date. And that doesn't matter because it means we can either quickly re-record the videos where that change is visible. We can even crop that little bit out of all of our videos and just republish them and replace them in a few minutes. Or we can do things like add images over the top of our videos as well, which is a great new feature, which allows you to cover the changes even with a small sticking plaster. So it is a fantastic tool, and we're so pleased to be in partnership with Cluso for these kinds of things. So I encourage you to check it out, and also if you're taking our platform certification at any point, do admire the video work that's gone into them. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Helen. Yeah, I think pretty incredible. Just for years, I think the narrative in our space has been to do more with less. And I have probably infamously told people, like, try to bake more cakes with less ingredients and tell me how that works out. The math just doesn't add up. And the introduction of AI, rise of AI in the last few years has actually made that very possible, where you're able to create videos in a fraction of the time, or update videos, which is such a pain in the butt when you listen to SaaS. Like, you need to create them because sometimes the step-by-step, people are like, where do I see that in the platform? And you want to be able to show that to them, but then by the time you make the video, it's obsolete. So I think that's just such a great use case too, of AI. And obviously earlier we were walking through how can you use AI. The usability was something I hadn't really considered, but wow, like, yes, we should be using AI to get that outside perspective of what is it like to navigate our LMS or our academy. How do people look for and find things, right? Because sometimes we're so used to seeing things the way that we see them because we built it, because we're used to it, that we have a hard time putting ourselves in that beginner's mindset. And so AI can be our beginner's mind. Yeah, well, we will open the floor for some Q&A. I know Shell already has a question in here. So again, underneath the video, three things. Underneath the video, you're going to find a lot of things. You're going to find a questions box. So we have a little bit of time here for questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the questions box. The second thing is also underneath this video is where you can rate this session. So let us know. Did you like it? What did you think? What do you want to learn about, right? What are some of the things that are top of mind and pressing for you? We read all of that and we use it to inform our content strategy and webinar programs. And then lastly, you can find a bunch of attachments underneath this. So practical use cases for AI, that prompt for measuring impact, right? All of that will be underneath this video here. You'll also see links to next month's webinar series on education-led growth. So you're going to hear about the education-led growth maturity model and the education-led growth research report. And then you're going to hear from Atlassian on what they're doing with customer education. All right, so we'll kick it off here with Michelle's question. Michelle was asking about the AI voiceover feature. So Neil, that's for you. Is it using your own voice, or it sounds like these are kind of built-in voiceovers that you can use?
Yep, that's a great question. So we've got hundreds of built-in voiceovers that you can use, but we actually do offer an option to create a clone of your own voice as well. So if you've got some team members' voices who you really like and you want to use their voices for your videos, then we can create an AI clone of their voice as well and add that as one of the options under the AI voiceovers for your account. So yeah, both of them are possible. You could use something that's already built in, or we could create a custom clone for you as well.
I'll add a caveat to that. I actually tried that in a different tool before we started using Cluso, and I find it quite scary because you can then make your own voice say anything you like, and it does sound very frustrating. So make sure you've got the full permission of the person using it, or you're willing to have that available out there. Not just with Cluso, but any tool that uses your image or your voice.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually don't even, create an AI clone of any voice until we have like an email written approval from them saying that, I have given my permission to this person to actually create an AI clone with my voice, and then add that to their account for them to be able to use it as well. So yeah, that's definitely a great point.
Yeah, I know that came up in a roundtable a while ago about AI, is just those considerations around ethics and, and I think we all have that. Even if you're recording in a studio or you're recording on your screen and someone leaves the company, like, do you own their likeness for that video?
Yep.
Right? Like, I know that there's curriculum. I am still in there, and I haven't worked there in a long time. So, I think those are interesting, like, things to consider. But definitely, I think the beauty of AI voiceover is that you don't have to have that person. Helen doesn't have to pick up a microphone and re-record, but then you also don't necessarily have to like keep someone's voice or likeness for a long time. All right, Michelle responded. Okay, thanks so much for clarifying. You're welcome. All right, we'll continue. And so not just question about Cluso, but if you have questions about AI, you have Neil's brain here, right? So he mentioned treating AI like an intern. And that was, I think, really revolutionary for me, was to think, if I'm training or onboarding a new employee, I don't expect them to just understand everything right away. I would give them like, hey, here are the tasks or the job responsibilities assigned to you. And here's what great looks like. And here's a template. And here's how we do this here. And I would give them that instruction. And then as they're doing things, I would say, ooh, okay, maybe tweak this, or maybe I didn't quite explain that well. And I would provide feedback. So if we're thinking about AI, the way that we would training a new hire, it's the same thing. We're giving them templates and instructions, we're providing feedback, and we're not expecting perfection on day one. But then in the same way that once a new hire is up to speed, that improved productivity reduces the amount of time that you need. AI can be the same. So super, super helpful.
Another important point that's always been around, but is even more under the microscope these days, is accessibility. And the two things that accessibility is it's vital to us in Intellum and using Evolve. And two things that Cluso does really well is once you've created your video and published it, you can download the subtitle file and a transcript, so like a plain text file immediately. So we can then use the accessibility features in Evolve and the platform. We upload the video and the subtitle file and the transcript file all in one go. There's no manual editing of that, no processing it, and it's absolutely fantastic. And another thing I really like is when we're talking about AI, I'm always worried that we're using AI a little bit too much to create content. But the nice thing with the way we do things is these videos are very much, they come from us. We're showing what we need to show. We're saying what we need to say. And all the Cluso side is doing is it's tidying things up. It's just helping us make things faster. It's not trying to say this is better, or this is, this is how it should be, or anything like that. It's not dictating anything in terms of, automatically generated content. It is literally just helping. And that's what I love.
Yeah, totally. And the one point I do want to add here is, AI at its core is just there to actually help you do 10x more of what you're able to do today. And, that's how you should be looking at AI instead of, like getting threatened by it or anything else as well. In fact, I've had multiple conversations with teams where they're like, will AI take over my job? I don't think that's going to happen. At least personally, what I believe is that's not going to happen. But one thing that might definitely happen is someone who knows how to use AI effectively might replace someone else who's not using AI at all. So, that's why it's the best time to actually for you to get started with AI. And, a lot of things that you might try doing with AI, they might not be perfect at the moment, or probably not very value adding, probably let's say only 50% time saving instead of let's say 80% or whatever else you expected. But one thing to also keep in mind is it's the worst it's ever going to be. It's only going to get better from there. So, the faster you get on board, the faster you start experimenting with it, the more ready you will be whenever there's a lot more new tech that's coming out for you to adopt that and then be ahead of everyone else and actually have like a lot of impact with, the tools and the technologies and everything that you've learned about AI, about using AI so far as well. So I think the time to start working with AI tools, AI models, or even any AI basic models as well is today. And like, don't delay that at all. It's just gonna get better and better, and it'll just help you do a lot more of what you can do today. And that's exactly why it exists as well. It's there to help you do 10x more of what you're doing and not really replace you. So, and of course, help you focus on more strategic work than like grunt work. In our case, essentially what we help you do is we help you transform a very rough screen recording into a really professional video, for which you would have otherwise spent like hours and hours, and as Helen mentioned, sometimes even a day, entire day, just creating like a 2 minutes video and like editing it out. So that's not something that's worth your time. Your time is worth actually figuring out what to show in the video, what to talk about, how do we convey this concept, how do we convey this topic to the customers, how do we make sure that we understand what they need and are able to convey that well. That's where you should be focusing your time on, and let the AI tools do most of the grunt work, or like the basic editing and everything else that needs to be done, which doesn't really require a lot of thought from your end. It's just like a lot of work that you need to be doing, and that's what it can automate for you. And one more thing I do want to add here is it also helps you go global. For example, with Cluso, we also help teams translate their videos and help articles into 40 different languages with just a click. So once you've got a video in one language, and if you've got courses in or customers in Spain or elsewhere as well, if they want content in their own localized language, you're now able to offer better experiences to your customers or your team members, whoever your end consumers are, because now they can consume content in the format, in the language they prefer as well. So that's also something that's that AI is helping with, actually you being able to improve the experience for your end consumers in multiple different ways.
And that also leads into the question I see that comes in from Michelle about, which I presume is for me, about finding the quality. How do we find the quality or impact of the educational content before and after using AI? Well, apart from the sort of benefits that we've already mentioned to us, the educational impact is that we are making sure that the learners who are taking our certifications and viewing our material are actually seeing the latest changes. I said about how quickly software changes. If we produced a whole certification and now suddenly all of our screenshots need changing and all of our videos need to be updated because of changes to the system, they're now getting that faster. They're getting the updated videos and guides a lot faster, which means that they're not seeing outdated material, and they're not having to struggle to work out why it doesn't look the same on their screen as it does anymore, and they're not having to sort of feedback and say, well, this video is not right. And linking nicely into what Neil said, we would never have had the time to translate our videos into multiple languages for different locales, different users across the world. Now we can start to do that. We can start to use the translation ability in Cluso to actually produce videos in other languages that will help learners across the globe to actually consume the content in a language that makes more sense to them and is going to be more useful. So hopefully that helps, Michelle.
Yeah. I think there's also, Helen, to your point of like keeping things updated, there's a big brand impact too. Like I know when I've gone to academies or education content and I'm trying to figure something out and I'm trying to get unstuck, but I'm really just getting more confused because everything's so outdated, right? Like even that, it has brand impact. It has value to your business of that content being up to date. And I think that's something we usually overlook. We think a lot about creating new content, not always maintaining, and AI can help us to do that. All right. Let's end on this fun question. Neil, for you, from Rebecca, it says, what recent development in AI research do you think will have the biggest impact in the next 5 years? And we'll end here.
Wow. Next 5 years, actually 5 years is a lot. And I think there's a lot more and more that's going to come. But I think one of the biggest impacts would actually be AI agents, and AI agents, how, you could actually start using agents to actually perform a task end to end. So right now, the way AI works, or the way you use AI, is you'd go to ChatGPT or specialized AI tools and give them some specific instructions or perform some specific actions to be able to perform a small task or like a specific thing as well. And that's how it works today. But soon what it's going to be like is it'll actually observe your workflow and then start performing those actions on its own. Think of AI agents that can automatically, go and then record a video for you. So you just give an instruction saying, we've released this particular new module on my product, and could you go help me record these 5 videos, and then these are the things that these videos need to convey. It'll actually go open your product, figure out the UI, click through the buttons, and then record a video of that workflow, generate a script based on the initial input that you've given it, perform all of the edits that you need to perform as well, and then create the final video for you. And that's just one example, and there's so many more use cases where that's already happening. Like, there are already AI agents or like a lot of coding co-pilots that are already writing code and creating products. And one person, teams are now able to create a product that's being used by millions of users. And that's only possible because of AI and how fast they're able to produce and, develop software as well.
And just to add to that personally, I mean, on a personal level, I really want to see, more AI being used to improve the planet, improve health, improve all the things that are really important to us. But in terms of education, I think starting to use it to personalize learning as much as you possibly can. So learning objectives that are personal to you, educational sort of outcomes and plans and paths that mean that you're getting the right content. So we put all this content out, but is it right for everybody? Is there a way that the AI can help this one person sitting in front of a computer to get the right information at the right time? And I think AI is definitely coming into everything that will help with that.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for your time. Thank you, everybody, for jumping on today. We will wrap up here, but we hope that you will join us next month to talk about education-led growth. You'll find the link to that under the video here. And thank you, Neil, for hopping on, sharing your AI expertise. Helen, for talking about how we're using AI here at Intellum, just to provide some inspiration ideas for folks on the call. Well, with that, thank you, everybody, and have a great day.
Thank you, Shannon.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thanks, Simon.